Hello and welcome everyone. In this video, we are going to understand Tableau data types. We will delve into the fundamental concepts of dimensions and measures in Tableau, along with understanding discrete versus continuous data. We will also explore some examples to illustrate the importance of choosing the right data types for effective data visualization in Tableau. Well, going ahead with dimensions and measures, the first point to keep in mind in dimension is these are categorical data types that define the structure of our data. They are mostly the text columns, whereas measures are quantitative data types that are usually numeric and represent the measurable aspects of our data. So dimension type typically represents the columns such as name, date, or categories, and measure represents sales figures, quantities, percentages, in which we can do some mathematical calculations like sum, average, count, etc. So we can say that dimensions provide context and depth to the visualizations, whereas measures, on the other hand, are used to perform mathematical operations like aggregation, sum, average, etc. Well, moving on to understand discrete versus continuous data. Now, discrete data consists of separate values that are distinct and countable, whereas continuous data, on the other hand, varies in an uninterrupted manner over a range. Example of discrete data could be count of items, number of customers, or product types. Whereas for continuous data, we could have time, temperature, or revenue. So as we can see in this representation, discrete data is having separate and countable values like butterscotch, chocolate, vanilla, strawberries. These are the product types. Whereas in continuous data, we don't have separate categories or separate values. It will be a continuous range of values. So we can say that discrete data points are plotted as individual separate marks on the chart, often with gaps between them. Correct? And continuous data is connected by lines or curves on a chart, representing the smooth transition between the values. I hope it is clear. Now let us see why it is so important to choose the right data type. So we have the first example of sales analysis. Imagine we are analyzing a sales data. The sales amount would be a measure as it's a numerical value and we can aggregate it like sum, average, count, etc. Whereas product categories, however, would be the dimension because they provide categorical information. So choosing the correct data type ensures that Tableau accurately represents the relationship in the data. So for example, so here if I want to compare between the product category and the sales, I have category as a text or a dimension and the sales as the numerical value, that is the measure. So if I want to create a visualization between these category and the sales, I will simply drag categories either to rows or columns. That's your choice. Let me put it in rows first. And I will now drag sales to the other one, that is the column. And I can see it has automatically plotted a graph of categories and the sales amount. So it has basically done sum of the sales. We can also do average sales. I will simply click on this drop down and click on average. So it will now showing the average. So this side we have the category, that is the dimension, and on the lower axis we have the average sales, that is the measure. We could have reversed this rows and columns. Let me show it by reversing. So I can reverse it by clicking on this option, swap rows and columns. Now you can see we have the categories coming on the lower axis and average sales coming on the vertical axis. So it is your choice which one to keep in rows or in columns. So it is giving us the insight that technology is the category in which we have the highest average sales. Then comes furniture, and in the end we have the office supplies. So here category, the one which is in blue, that is the dimension, and the sales, that is in green, is the measure. Always remember that in Tableau, the dimensions are represented by blue color and the measures are represented by the green colors. Hope it is clear. If you hover your cursor over these bars, it will show you the category and the average sales. Let us see one more example where we are doing time series analysis. Now consider analyzing trends over the time. If date is treated as a dimension, it will be discrete and each data point or each date will represent a specific date. So here I have taken sales amount as the measure because I can do mathematical operations on it, and the date column we have taken as dimension. So similarly, I have here order date and the sales. So you can see order date is in the dimensions and the sales is in the measures. So I can drag order date to rows and sales to columns. So it is plotting a line chart like this. Let us switch the axis. This looks better. So we have 2014, 15, 16 and 17. We can see that over the time the sales is increasing. So here you can see in the order date, it is showing us with respect to year. If you want to show it with respect to months, you can click on this drop down and you can click on month. So it is now showing as January, February, March, April, May, June. What is the variation of sales with respect to months? I hope it is clear. So understanding Tableau data types, including dimensions and measures, as well as discrete versus continuous data, is crucial for effective data visualization and analysis. So by choosing the right data types, we ensure that Tableau accurately represents the underlying structure of our data. Obviously, that will lead to clearer insights and better decision making. So practice exploring various data types and experimenting with different visualizations to enhance your Tableau skills. So with this, we have come to the end of the video. In the next video, we will learn how to create basic visualizations. See you then. Bye-bye.